I'm Dr. Rob Neal, biomechanist and part of the ELVA Golf team, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to Mr. Martin Hall, who's a good friend of mine, but before that, he was a leading golf instructor and coach in the USA. Long history, ran his own channel on the Golf Channel, or his own program on the Golf Channel, School of Golf, and we did a few segments on there together. And we're going to have a little discussion today about your experience in 3D as it applies to golf, not the general concept of 3D.
Yeah, well, Rob, 3D for me was it evolved. I got into 3D because I was determined to get answers to questions that I couldn't find with what at the time was traditional instruction. We first met in about 2005, 2006 when I brought my wife down, who was a very good player, to let you have a look at. And it really interested me that with 3D, look, the whole evolution has gone. I mean, from my time, we had Polaroid graph check cameras where you could just see, not only the club wasn't blurred, you couldn't see the club, the arms were blurred and you couldn't see the club. And then we moved from there to cinefilm, where we'd take a film, we had to send it away for 2 weeks to be developed, and then we'd get it back. And then we got early video in the sort of late 90s, maybe early 90s, I would say, late 80s, early 90s. And I think at that time, video, because we had the clarity of the shaft that we'd never seen before, people became, I did certainly, super conscious of where the shaft and the face was, and probably didn't pay enough attention to where the body was and what the body was doing and in what time the body was moving. And then as I got further down the road and I came down to meet you at Doral, it really created great interest to me as to what should the body do, what does the body do with the best players in the world, what does the weight shift do, what does the thorax do, and is the thorax a better way to think of it than the shoulders, is the pelvis a better way to think of it than the hips, and do you get the club in front of you in the downswing or not, should you try and keep the club in front of you, all those sorts of things. And every system that I've seen you create has been fantastic, and everyone has been a step on top of, sometimes more than the ones before. If I think of the very earliest system I saw you have, you used to snap a line originally, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And
then you started to digitize, and then you got the system that I call the Wombat. Yeah, when all measurements must be accurate and true. That's my system, I call it. And I think it's just, the reason I love 3D is it puts thoughts and theories on trial for, are they accurate or not? And you can argue all night over a pint or two of beer. He did that. No, he did that. No, he did that. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. But with 3D, those arguments are less frequent. And so, I mean, I think the 3D is amazing for the measurements. It's amazing to sort of really lift up I would call it the bonnet, the hood of the car. Right. And you could have a look what's underneath it.
Martin, one thing I was going to say, if I go back to my first experience in 3D, it was, as you said, cine film, high speed. It was, I think we captured at 300 frames per second. The cameras those days were $50,000 each. And then you'd wait a week, get the film back, manually digitize it to get the 3D coordinates, and then maybe 4 hours later you could run the analysis on that swing. Today, that time frame is down to under a minute with these video-based systems, the markerless system like ELVA. It's just remarkable how much that's changed in my lifetime.
Well, I was going to say, would you have ever thought, even 15 years ago, would you have ever thought this was possible?
No, the computing power just wasn't there, and also the it's not like the mathematics needed to be invented, but it needed to be developed in such a way to take the video images and find out where the edges of the body are, or where the joint centroids are, and that sort of thing. And you know, to write the code that would allow you to get that in 3D space, not just a projection on a 2D image, is really quite remarkable. And I think the brains behind ELVA, I'm not the brains behind ELVA, the guys who are doing that back-end work have done an unbelievably good job in getting that to a point where it's usable in a practical situation.
Well, I think that's what makes it so amazing. And I heard a phrase early on in my teaching career that said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. And without feedback, I don't think we improve as quickly as if we are experiencing feedback. So the feedback that you've just shown me today with ELVA, are you in parameters or not? Mm-hmm. How much are you out? How much are you in? With pretty much any part of the body you'd want to work and look at. And I'm sure you will be gathering a database of great players and seeing what they're doing. And, you know, it puts some of the mysteries to, it sort of clears up some of the mysteries. I mean, people might look at someone like Scotty Scheffler and say, well, he's got a very funny swing. I'm sure if you looked at his 3D, most of it is completely conventional. Maybe his right foot slide is a little different, but most of it is completely conventional.
Particularly through the downswing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to change tack a little bit here, and this is more for information for the audience. Martin, talk to me a little bit about 3 DOF, as you said, or 3 degrees of freedom, versus 6 degrees of freedom. What is that? Well,
for me, that was a really big thing. The first 3D system I got was a K-Vest, which was very good in its time, but it was 3 DOF. 3 DOF means it can only measure in 3 degrees of freedom. It can measure turn, it can measure side bend, it can measure forwards and backwards bend of spine and pelvis. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Unfortunately, 3 DOF can't measure anything going side to side, can't measure anything going up and down, and can't measure anything thrusting to or from the target, which is essential in golf. Look, I'm not going to say K-Vest is of no use at all. It has its applications, but compared to 6 DOF, it is a very distant second, because for me, Rob, the shifting and the extending are a massive part of how to make good contact and how to hit the ball far.
Right. It's so true. That squat that you would see Rory, like imagine that shot on 14 at Pebble Beach that he hit, that drive. I mean...
Yeah, we were just talking about this. I don't know when you might be watching this, but the 2025 AT&T Pebble Beach, he hit a drive off the 14th. It was 345 yards, uphill no less, in about 65 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, and you could actually see, we were talking before the cameras, when you could see he widened his stance a bit and he braced up a bit. And I mean, he used every bit of that Northern Irish body to smash it.
Yeah, and then what he does so well is the things that you talked about, the squat and the lift. So the lift is just an indication of how hard he's pushing into the ground, and the ground's pushing back, of course. And then the lateral movement to position his body so that he can take advantage of that was phenomenal. Anyway, that's our 6 degrees of freedom. And again, a little sidebar here for you. Wireless technology with sensors is very easy to get rotational measurements. Like you can buy chips that $10 that'll measure the rotational degrees of freedom. Measuring the sideways movements is phenomenally difficult using little chips or accelerometers and things like that. Video, on the other hand, is quite good at measuring side to side, up and down, forward and backward. So but very difficult to get rotations. Yeah. And so I think that's been the biggest challenge for the markerless systems, is to get accurate rotational information. We can get the translational stuff very, very accurately. And so what we're doing at ELVA, Martin, is to train our AI based on the 50,000 swings that I've got of all levels of players. So with this training model, we will get the level of accuracy required for it to be useful in golf. So I think that's an interesting phenomenon. And I often joke with people, you know, is it, Martin, why measure when you could guess?
Yeah, well, you said that to me on the phone the other day, and I laughed again. Yeah, it's. I think there are lots of apps out there that would say they can measure this and that, and they do spit out a number, but it doesn't mean they measured anything.
That's right, yeah. And it's probably a great example of the very best and worst of AI.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
no matter what you give it, it'll give you an answer.
Yeah.
But if you're not a smart consumer of that information, it's hard to know whether it's believable or not. A bit like golf instruction on the internet, right?
Yeah, well, you know what Tiger said about the worst thing. The worst thing for golf, according to Tiger, YouTube. It's the worst thing for golf. But you know, I think what you've created here, or what you're in the process of creating, it's groundbreaking, Rob. And you know, I'm so excited that you asked me to be here today, and you know, I'll be popping up quite often, I'm sure, and you'll still be coming down, and we'll still be playing golf together.
Well, I hope so. And
but it really is groundbreaking, and even at this stage in my life, I get really excited about things that are going to move the needle in instruction, because that's been my thing my whole life, and you've definitely done it here.
well, thank you, Martin, very much for coming up and experiencing ELVA for the first time. I know that we're going to keep getting better with this product, and that our accuracy will improve, our ease of use will improve, and I just hope that all of those golf coaches and players out there can take advantage of it.
Well, I hope so too, and I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't believe it was absolutely fantastic.